What if we told you that the Walt Disney Company is literally looking at destroying one of their main lands at the Magic Kingdom at Disney World? One that has been there since the start, one that was close to Walt's heart. But that is indeed what they're looking to do, apparently. According to rumors and according to various sources of whom we have spoken with, Disney may be looking to take out Frontierland and replace it with yet another girls' IP. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. Happy to have each and every one of you out there as we are taking on a topic today that is going to frankly make some people a little frustrated, especially if you are someone who has enjoyed Frontierland as it has existed at Walt Disney World for the vast majority of its Magic Kingdom life. Vash Sky of That Park Place joins us today. Vash, welcome back.
Hey, thank you so much for having me back. Talking about Frontierland and all things Magic Kingdom. Boy, this is exciting, and I would say, a lot of people are a little bit apprehensive, to say the least. But
I can understand the apprehension. And folks, the reason we're bringing this to you is because our sources are confirming what Brayden of Mickey Views, what his sources are saying. And so there seems to be some very strong corroboration here. And thus we'll go to the article, which is covering this. This out of DisneyDining.com. After 51 years, Disney World may be slicing an iconic land. And this is by Brittany Ward. Walt Disney World, located in Orlando, Florida, is an exciting and enchanting destination that has captivated guests from around the world since it opened its doors in 1971. At the heart of Disney is the iconic Magic Kingdom. It's divided into several distinct lands, one of which is Frontierland. Rumors are circulating that Disney World might significantly change Frontierland at Magic Kingdom. I would say pretty much wipe it out. It's speculated that they might replace a majority of Frontierland with New Orleans Square to accommodate Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which will open in 2024 this year. Brayden of Mickey Views on X posted about that part on Disney's website that talks about more announcements and shared that this is a tease for Disney to remove Frontierland to add a new land to match Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And here's that tweet Brayden said in regards to Disney Parks blog, which said, "Look forward to sharing more announcements about Frontierland." Brayden said, "The more announcements teased for Frontierland are closing Pecos Bills to change that to a Tiana restaurant, if they ever get the money, and building something desertish behind Big Thunder so they can rope it into a new land and remove the Frontierland theme from the existing street." He says that's not speculation, and I think we can confirm with our sources that we believe that's true. Now, we are in rumor and speculation territory, not because we think that the sources are wrong or that there's even a chance that they are misleading or misguiding, but rather because we're talking about a future project. Right. So because we're talking about a future product from a company, we cannot guarantee you that they'll follow through. They could have changes, and that could happen. But Vash, I want to show you what we're talking about here.
Please.
Splash Mountain, through polling, we know has been historically and still is the most popular attraction on the planet, and it still exists in Tokyo Disneyland. Splash Mountain is being changed to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We have very strong reason to worry about this attraction, the least of which is not that they have taken out 64 animatronics and are allegedly replacing them with about 16 animatronics and switching this thing over to heavy usages of screens, projectors, and fog. Not a great look. Also, we're not real pleased with the idea that this ride now has been rethemed such that it's even difficult to see the log flume unless you're standing directly on the bridge staring straight at the flume.
Right.
Not great design choices there, and lots of reasons to be concerned. We also know, Vash, that the Country Bear Jamboree is being changed this year, and as part of that changeover, they're going to be switching to them singing Disney songs, which have been switched up into new genres like bluegrass and country, and I dare say some of those traditional New Orleans-style pieces of music. Now, here's where it gets very interesting, Vash.
Right.
What I am hearing from my sources is that, in fact, yes, they are trying to get the money. They're trying to find a way, although this may be a very cheap switchover. Change Pecos Bills, which inhabits all of this area here, change Pecos Bills into a Tiana-style restaurant, tie in the Country Bear Jamboree so that starting with the Country Bear Jamboree area over here, the New Orleans Square area would begin. It would go all the way over to the area where it switches to Adventureland, and it would go all the way across the bridge, covering the what was Splash Mountain. It would probably also take over Magic Kingdom Railroad, Frontierland Station. So then you might say, well, what will happen to this area that's over here with the Frontierland Shooting Arcade? Well, I think that likely goes away. But all of this area over here next to Liberty Square would be now part of Liberty Square. And then if we go over here to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, what Brayden is talking about, and this I don't have confirmation on yet, we're working on it, is that Big Thunder Mountain Railroad would then be part of whatever remainder there is, this teeny tiny bit of Frontierland, and then this land back here, if Disney could manage to find a way to get guests over there, they might do something deserty with it to call it Frontierland, perhaps, or retheme it or rename it. And they're even talking about not using Tom Sawyer Island much anymore. Now, I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. And I'm aware that Disney right now doesn't have a lot of money, especially not when they've been spending all of their money on the Chinese parks. That said, they are doubling down on Dumb Vash. They really, 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 they are putting everything they have into Tiana's Bayou Adventure, except a proper budget and except proper Imagineering. We even believe that the original creator of Splash Mountain is not pleased with what they've decided to do. And of course, we've talked about it on the channel many times, that the person who is in charge, well, the person's in charge, specifically Carmen Smith, who is head of DEI essentially for Walt Disney Imagineering, that we've never seen her have a successful project, and she's done quite a few, and we've never seen a successful one whatsoever. She's over the Splash Mountain change. Vash, what do you make of the idea that Disney, in spite of every reason to not, to downplay this change, that they're going all the harder towards it? What do you think?
Yeah, you can see this already occurring actually at Disneyland when the French Market was actually redone into Tiana's Palace. And now, you have Haunted Mansion taking on a little bit of a New Orleans-inspired theme with its new exit shop and so forth. We're seeing parts of the areas that exist in New Orleans Square at Disneyland be changed over. Eudora's shop, Eudora's Chic Boutique, for example. And, they're really doubling down on Tiana. The question was, are they going to necessarily do the same thing at Magic Kingdom? And this is why, Brayden has had great sources on all manner of
everybody I'm talking to that I think knows this stuff, they say Brayden knows, they say Brayden's got it.
Well, there you go. And I have no doubt he's been on top of this thing for, I want to say 6 months, a year, something like that. He's been at the forefront of this for quite some time, along with other scoops in the past. So I have no reason to doubt him. I think they are attempting to get this done here. The question really is how successful will they be in this endeavor? Lorena actually brought up something very, very interesting when I was talking to her about this specific
about Lorena
concept.
Creole, everybody.
Correct. Great channel. Definitely check it out. And you can check her out on that Park Place from time to time as well. But if you look next to Pirates of the Caribbean, Frontierland, that section of Frontierland, you'll see Pirates of the Caribbean right there. And we will know geographically wise, the Caribbean butts up against the Gulf of Mexico. And specifically, if you get pretty deep in there, eventually to Louisiana and the Gulf Coast
this is
itself.
Supposed to now be a salt dome, by the way, folks. This is a salt dome.
Right.
Avery Island, where real slavery actually happened. They're getting away from divisive stuff, I tell you.
They're gonna quiet the noise anytime now, right? So you could conceivably see where a theme like this could necessarily work. The question, though, is that these are huge swaths of Frontierland here that we're talking about. We're going to need...
That's what worries me, Vash. I worry that we'll get a name... Okay, look at Epcot. We don't have to pretend. We know what this looks like. We watch them retheme Future World into World Celebration and World Nature and World Discovery. Like, they just change the name, and then they act like they did something, and they destroy the center of Epcot and turn it into a Southern California urban planning park, and people are disappointed. They take out the giant fountains, and we're left with just this mess, this garbled mess.
Yeah.
So when we look at Frontierland, why would we expect anything more than that? I would say that the structures will largely stay the same, and the Country Bears they'll add an accordion, to one of the tracks and say, well, it's New Orleans now. It's part of New Orleans Square. And then with Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, because Frontierland suggests, the frontier, and that suggests, colonization and colonialization and the patriarchy, darn it. And so they'll say that Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, it's Frontierland now, and whatever little tiny... See, we gave you beyond Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. We gave you that big expansion. We talked about it. We just didn't tell you that it was going to be a few red rocks we called a desert.
Right.
Vash, Universal Studios, they've got to be licking their chops right now. I mean, Universal Studios opening Epic Universe, where they're going to have Super Nintendo World. They're going to have How to Train Your Dragon, so much more. But Islands Adventure, we're at 99.99% sure now that Zelda is coming to Islands of Adventure. And now Universal has picked up a separate entity that's not Nintendo, not owned by Nintendo, although many think it is. Universal Studios bringing Pokemon to the Universal Studios proper theme park.
Yes.
And Disney's response, Vash, is to take Princess and the Frog and not just change one ride into that IP, but to destroy an entire beloved themed area into that IP.
Right.
I like Princess and the Frog. This is the worst way you could possibly come up to integrate it into the parks.
I agree, because, back when Disneyland opened, back in 1955, for $17 million, we'll get back to that figure in a second.
This goes back to Walt.
Well, yes, it was a third of the park at that point. It was hugely, inspirational to Walt and that kind of frontier attitude that was there, impacted by Davy Crockett and so forth, and the westerns at the time, to now go from, we're going to, essentially put Frontierland up in the upper corner right there, and then we're going to take away all of this, which, by the way, New Orleans, New Orleans Square, at least, back when it opened in the mid-1960s, you're talking, I think it was like a $10 million thing. That was just for the buildings and so forth that were there. That was back in, like I said, the mid-1960s, off of the park, which cost $17 million to make, and now we're going to be doing this here in the modern day with this much land here. You're going to require a budget of at least tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollers, to really do this correctly. Are we actually going to get that? Probably not. And then we're going to relegate.
Bills, by the way, Vash, they're going to take Pecos Bills,
right,
which is a very large, very high throughput restaurant. Right? It's fast food, but it's a huge capacity, and I'll guarantee you they're going to change it to a meet and greet place with a huge upcharge, and it's not going to be fast food anymore. That's my guess, but I'd put a lot on it. Otherwise, why would they want to do this?
It is a massive space, by the way. I was actually taken aback because it was my first time walking into Pecos Bills this last summer right here, and I was stunned at just how big that was. Whatever you sell in there has to be able to fill that place. So I could see it. I could see Tiana's Palace being adapted there. I could see kind of a partial Tiana's Palace, or maybe like a Princess Dine thing, or maybe a meet and greet or something like that in order to occupy those spaces right there. But if that ends up happening, then you're cutting a lot of potential quick service capacity from that park, which desperately needs it. So that's kind of tricky to figure out right there. To do this right, you're going to need a lot of money. And then you're going to relegate Frontierland to the upper corner there?
Disney always wants money. Like anything they do, they're always wanting to make money off of it. You don't make any money off of changing Pecos Bills unless you're turning it into some sort of character meet and greet dining or something to that effect. Sure. Because otherwise, you're just swapping one fast food out for another fast food.
Right.
It's just expense at that point. I don't think they would do it for that reason.
That's actually a decent point, and we've seen the ROI requirements for WEI projects are something like 5 years. So that wouldn't surprise me either. But look, we're theming this to a franchise that came out in 2009. When you have Universal over there, not only opening up a new park potentially next year, if not to 2025, or I should say this year, where I guess we're in 2024 now, but Pokemon, like you said, which is just a unbelievably big and popular franchise, and Disney's throwing everything that they have into Tiana's basket.
It's so short-sighted. Josh D'Amaro should be fired. He's terrible. He's terrible, Vash. Think about this. Okay, let's look at the strategy here.
Please.
Universal goes with Super Nintendo World.
Sure.
Forever, okay? For 30, 40 years. I don't know how long. Nintendo is going to continue making products. So that will be every time Nintendo releases a product, which is like every, month, that land gets revivified. Okay? Universal is opening a Pokemon area.
Right.
Okay? Every time a Pokemon game or card set or whatever, comes out, that's drawing people to come to your Pokemon area. Fantastic. Frontierland. Frontierland can be used for anything that has to do with anything Westerns.
Right.
Okay, great. That's not in vogue right now, but you've killed superheroes, so it might come back. But instead, you're going to wipe out an entire area, essentially, and transform it into a very specific intellectual property, which is hard set into, 2008? 2009, sometime around there.
December 11, 2009 is when Tiana, Prince of the Frog came out.
And so Disney's going to try and resurrect the Tiana brand, right? They're going to try and put out a show for Disney Plus, but there's no guarantee that's going to take off. And anything you do now to keep that land alive and interesting, you have to do it for the sake of marketing the land, whereas with Universal, they just have automatic synergy. Correct. Because Nintendo's going to Nintendo, and then that drives people to your park.
Correct.
So this is stupid.
It's interesting, Pro. During tonight's wildcard game on NBC, they actually had like a Pokemon-inspired segment that played during that, showing off one of the players for the Los Angeles Rams and their statistics, like a graphics package that you'll see from ESPN from time to time. I thought that was really interesting because we are just learning about this potential Pokemon redo of the Simpsons area. So we can assume that is going forward right there. You add in Zelda, you add in new Nintendo properties over there in Epic Universe with Luigi's Mansion, for example. I mean, they're going all out on this thing, and we have Disney here dedicating a large portion of not just, what was Frontierland, but Magic Kingdom in general to this one singular IP that, frankly, hasn't necessarily been set the merchandise world on fire, so to speak. So it's all really muddled, and it seems like operations is getting involved, both with the Pecos Bill transformation, but also too the Frontierland kind of expansion right there. Apparently, they want to mimic what Disneyland did with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and completing that section of the river, right? So that you can kind of traverse on the other side of Rivers of America. That would help with guest flow and so forth. But it's these aren't necessarily changes that encourage demand. These are more operational changes and so forth, and we're going to get into maybe some tough economic times here. I just don't know how they'll separate themselves from what Universal's doing that will absolutely generate demand.
Vash, final note here. When you think about the Disney parks and the Disney IPs and what drives people to want to go to these theme parks, I got to say that Frontierland to me comes off as more of a boys' area. Sure. And I'm not saying that girls can't enjoy Frontierland at all. Right. I'm suggesting that when you look at the areas, for example, if you take a ride like, I don't know, if you take the meet and greet with Enchanted Stories with Belle, for example, I bet that more girls go into that.
Sure.
And I'm betting that with Frontierland, that is easier to cater towards boys, cowboys and the Western Front and all of that.
Yeah.
We have watched as Disney has destroyed the brands, the IPs, the franchises that reach out to the male demographics. And they've purposefully bought these male demographic franchises and attempted to transition them to being feminine. Now they're doing this with an entire land, it would seem, if these rumors turn out to be true. And I can't understand what it is they're up to, when they take an entire Frontierland and swap that out for a girls' area. I mean, I don't understand. From a marketing standpoint, from a making money standpoint, I just can't. I mean, the only thing I can come up with is these people are just they're just driven from some sort of deep down quasi-religious belief, because otherwise, why would you look at Frontierland and say, let's rip that apart, or let's retheme that into a distinctly, specifically girl brand? Makes no sense.
It's interesting that you bring it up too, because in Magic Kingdom specifically, you had executives that were well aware of this. For example, and I know Jay Rasulo, he's back in the news here, but he wasn't always remembered as necessarily the savior of Disney. And at that time, they were on the precipice of installing new Frontierland. I'm sorry, new Fantasyland, and that included Enchanted Tales with Belle. But there were supposed to be 3 more of those included as part of the Pixie Hollow area, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, I believe, and it was Tom Staggs who came in and said, whoa, wait a minute, I've got 2 young boys here and none of this stuff appeals to them specifically. Let's go ahead and maybe do another attraction. That's where we get Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which was a big success and was a good move on their part that they're still selling Lightnings for today.
Can I tell you something though? And
Please.
Maybe people will disagree with me.
Please.
Seven Mines Train it's just fine. It's just fine.
Well,
it doesn't really rock like they advertised. That didn't get fulfilled. And it's it's a very mediocre roller coaster that's well themed. It's essentially, it's like an upgraded dark ride that's outdoors. If you get my drift, it's nothing to write home about. It's no Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It's no Space Mountain. It's no Splash Mountain. So, I mean, they did okay. They could have done so much better, though.
That's true. I will say, though, better than 3 more Enchanted.
Better than, granted on that. Absolutely.
Right. And I think that's that's kind of the way I look at it. Yeah, I do agree with you. Could it have been longer? Absolutely. I think that would have really sold that attraction better in the hearts and minds of fans, because right now it's particularly short, and I guess even shorter when you go to the Hong Kong version of that attraction.
Universal is going to eat their lunch. Area. Universal is going to eat Disney's lunch over the next 5 years.
When you look at some of these attractions coming to Epic Universe alone, they'll blow your mind. They will absolutely blow your mind. I've had them described to me, and I just go like, how is that possible?
We're watching the last year of Disney being dominant in theme parks.
We may very well be seeing that, because while we've seen enhancements to the resorts and so forth and expansions there, we really haven't seen that much expansion in the parks, certainly very recently. And now we're on the precipice of like I said, relegating Frontierland to this corner here with this kind of desert area, retheming, maybe perhaps cheaply, the existing Frontierland with New Orleans themed facades. Again, you'll have people show up on day one for those things, granted. But what about the long-term demand that you're generating for this area?
Think about it this way, Vash.
Cool.
You got Splash Mountain, most popular ride on the planet, according to Poland. Not in Disney parks.
Right.
The most popular attraction, period. Okay, you change that. All right. Now, think about this way.
Please.
So, when it comes to Marvel Entertainment, they decided we're going to take the most popular franchise, most popular series of movies, and we're going to change that. And we see how that went, right? We went from Endgame, and we went from the success of Spider-Man No Way Home to the Marvels, which now the Marvels is in contention for the biggest flop in the history of cinema.
Right.
Okay. Now, think about it this way: with Splash Mountain, if they replace it with something akin to the Marvels, which that very well could happen.
Yeah.
The nice thing about the Marvels and movies that flop, they go away, right? They go to Disney Plus and it's over.
Right.
When you do it with an attraction, you're stuck with that attraction for a decade plus. Probably 20. Yes, 20 years minimum, I would say. So you could have an absolute disaster, and Splash Mountain is an integral part of the parks because it eats up so much in terms of crowds.
Right.
If it fails, it doesn't just hurt that one ride. You don't get to just say, "Oh well, the greatest ride in the world is gone," but oh well, we made representation in the parks. No. If it fails, you also increase the wait time at every other attraction because of it.
You do. And think about the little girls who feel that they have been represented now, who want to actually go on a Tiana themed attraction and can't because they don't meet the minimum height requirement.
And they could have had a perfect Princess and the Frog attraction.
Sure.
There are so many expansion pads for it. They could have put one north of the Haunted Mansion show building and had you get off of the Liberty Bell and go there that way, and it would have been this massive experience. They could have made it be the Beyond Big Thunder Mountain Railroad expansion area.
Right.
There were many options. They chose to do the most vapid virtue signaling option They chose to do one with the lowest budget possible. They're ripping out dozens and dozens and dozens of classic animatronics
Over
to replace
70,
them
I
with
believe.
projectors, right? And so what you come up with is, again, this is a Little Mermaid revamped kind of situation where they're using this IP as the shield against the criticisms because they have, we don't know yet, but everything we are hearing and seeing says they even know this is a downgrade. And not only is it a downgrade now, but apparently they are so strong-willed and pig-headed and all of that they're deciding, hey, we'll metastasize this failure all over Frontierland and we'll wipe Frontierland out. Vash, I'll give you the last word. You can tell what I think about all of this.
Well, I just to put a little bit more clarity for the audience out there, to go from over 70 audio animatronics in Walt Disney World's case, or even Disneyland, where they had over 100 animatronics with figures dating back to 1976 with the American Bicentennial and America Sings attraction created by Mark Davis. We're going to take all those figures out.
Vash. They didn't even. My understanding is they didn't even save them.
Nope.
Scrapped them.
Gonna scrap them all.
Morons.
For 16 figures, which, by the way, at least in Disneyland, the amount of show scenes that were available were around 15, 16.
Old Disney would have never done this. Old Disney, Old Disney would have never destroyed 60 plus animatronics.
No way. No, they would have reused those. They would have reused their parts and so forth. There is absolutely no way they would have done this. But we're going from an attraction that was built specifically to house as many audio animatronic figures as possible to ones that you'll have an average of one audio animatronics figure per scene. That's where we're going here, folks. This is a complete downgrade. And yes, they will have more articulated range of motion. That's no question.
Yay.
But, it's
what I've always wanted. I need more articulation in the arms and shoulders of the animatronics.
yes. It's Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the water ride. That's what we're getting, folks. And look, if there are some people who like that attraction. It's great, fantastic, and hey, at least in Disneyland we had an attraction added. But people remember the great movie ride. Well, just imagine the chasm between these things being even greater, and that's what we're getting here. And it's sad to see.
They deserve to lose to Universal.
I would agree.
Yep. All right, folks, that's it. That's a wrap. Tell us if you agree. Does Disney deserve to lose to Universal at this point? And if they lose, there's no guarantee they ever get back the crown. There's no guarantee. And I don't see why they would in Orlando. I don't see why in 2 years, I don't see why you would choose Disney World over Universal if you can only pick one. I really don't. And that is a real shame because this, Magic Kingdom and Epcot at least, and I would say Animal Kingdom, they're all engineering marvels, and they are genuinely heights of achievement in planning. But current Disney has managed to really destroy a lot. Tell us what you think in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. When you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Mr. Vash Sky is located at That Park Place on YouTube. And where else, Mr. Vash Sky?
Theme Park Universe, which we're going to have a new episode posted on Monday. So by the time you see this, it should already be posted. Go ahead and join us for that, where we talk about all things theme parks around the nation and around the world.
That's right. Folks, make sure you subscribe to that excellent content. And as we always say on the way out, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Clickbait, fraud, drama queen. Ugh, I wish there was a channel that was 5 to 6 minute news reads without the drama, frauds, and clickbait that could accurately let me know the current news, providing my crucial context utilizing all the different That Park Place contributors and creators.
Well, stupid, there is. It's the That Park Place YouTube channel, which will be going live real soon, so make sure you're subscribed so you can really stick it to the algorithms.
You're joking.
Nope.